Don't miss this month's live Patriot Q&A hour as John Michael Chambers hosts our Patriot Power guest, Sheila Hall. Get your questions answered. Mark your calendars. July 30th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time sharp. Visit jmcbroadcasting.com and click on the Premium Portal Sign-Up tab. Enter your password and you're in. Not a JMC Broadcasting Premium member yet? You could be. Simply click on the Premium Portal Sign-Up tab. Enter your info, and that's it. John and Sheila. Looking forward to answering your questions for the solid hour. See you there. Where we go one, we go all. Since President Dwight D. Eisenhower, top secret files were created concerning off-world activity and visits to planet Earth. Undoubtedly, over the decades, these files have grown. Area 51 is commonly known. We've heard and seen images of UFOs, but not until now has this been validated and presented to the American people and to the world, as President Donald J. Trump released the first tranche of top-secret files. This is the beginning. There's much more to come. Join John Michael Chambers and guests on a new monthly panel, JMC Broadcast, Off-World with JMC. Premiere episode launches Thursday, June 18th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Subscribe for free by visiting jmcbroadcasting.com and join us on this intriguing and challenging journey together, taking the Great Awakening to new and higher heights. Come travel through the portal with us. Where we go one, we go all.
Wednesday, July 8th, 2026. We are live. Welcome back to the Global Financial Reset, Surviving and Thriving the Transition. And joining me today in just a moment is Will Barney and retirement planning specialist Brandon Clarke. If you are planning ahead for your retirement, or if you are already retired, you will want to join Brandon and I on the second half of this important broadcast following Will Barney, as we will discuss the strategies for retirees 8-part educational curriculum series, which launches this week, one a week for the next 8 weeks. We're going to do a cursory review of what strategies for retirees will encompass. So again, if you're preparing for retirement or in retirement, this is for you. Stick around. Brandon Clarke will be joining us in the second half of the broadcast to talk about guaranteed income plans you cannot outlive and market indexed growth with zero downside risk. All the bells and whistles, all the risks and rewards. We're going to go over it all later. All right, let's talk about Juan O'Savin and retired Lieutenant Colonel Matt Meck. Come join them in Las Vegas. I understand these ticket prices will be going up soon, so you want to grab them at these prices. StormSummit.us, same hotel as the last Fraud Fighter Summit, Ahern in Las Vegas. Visit StormSummit.us. Let's go meet our good friend Juan O'Savin, as you now know, as you can see from, I think it was Real America News, one of the platforms. Juan O'Savin, you can see what Juan looks like these days. He's showing his face, long beard, looking good, Juan. And let's see, are we leaving in various ways, the covert part of the operation and becoming a little bit more overt? I think so, and I absolutely encourage you to listen to my resumed war reports, compliments of Guardian Daniel R. We started yesterday. The second one was today. This will go on for the rest of the month. They're very, very important, high-level, straightforward analysis of where we have been, what's really taken place. It's a reflection of that and a lot of reveals, as well as where things are heading. These are the war reports, and in fact, after this broadcast, we're going to, in this broadcast, at the conclusion, when I depart, an hour and a half from now, the war report will be played. So do watch this. It's very, very important. Also, we have, so join Juan O'Savin in Vegas. We have, let's see, the Global Financial Reset will be going live monthly, not weekly. In other words, this will be our last weekly broadcast. We will be doing these monthly beginning Wednesday, August 5th, live, of course, same bat time, same bat channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And joining me on August 5th for our first monthly broadcast is Will Barney, Rob Cunningham, and Bill Armour. You don't want to miss that, so continue to follow us and subscribe for free at jmcbroadcasting.com and the Rumble channels, so you get the notifications of our broadcast before and after, once it's published. Now, a quick disclaimer. The information provided by me and my guests is for educational purposes only and is not to be considered a specific investment, tax, nor legal advice. You are encouraged to do your own research and consult your own financial, legal, and tax professionals. And I say this each time, and I'll always say it. Go visit wealthcoachuniversity.com, scroll down, click on the little blue tab. The advisor scorecard will help you tremendously if you have a team helping you with your finances or if you're looking to acquire one. Also, so much of what is happening in this global financial reset and this global defense war military operation is new to us all. I mean, you really think about the gargantuan changes that are taking place on affecting every aspect of our life, all of the world over. So much is happening that is new to us all. And while the Trump administration and others in more, quote, official capacities do provide some hard facts for us, we, the people, are left with having to do our own further research and do our best connecting our commentary, opinions, and analysis to the public. That is what we do here. That's what most of all of us that are got skin in the game are doing. So let's begin this broadcast right now with this clip. I want to stand next to these soon-to-be very rich people.
Good, so we'll get going, and good morning. I'm grateful to be with you on this historic occasion. The American dream belongs to every child, and today we are equipping the next generation with the right to claim their rightful share of it. Through Trump accounts, our president is creating an ownership economy where all citizens become shareholders. 38% of American families do not have any exposure to our great equity markets, but with Trump accounts, over time, we can get that number to zero. Already, 6 million American children have signed up. 86% of them with families earning less than $200,000. U.S. Treasury, 1.4 million of those accounts will receive $1,000 from the U.S. Treasury to seed the accounts. When the markets open in just a few minutes,
right now.
Trump accounts will benefit. So ring the bell, Mr. President.
God bless Donald Trump. Hey, did you notice the Mrs. Dell? I'll just leave it at that. Central casting? Cloning? Who knows? Anyway, remember the executive orders 13818, 13818, and 13, I forgot the other one. You know the two key executive orders that have been standing for some years now. Well, perhaps that's why we have $6.5 billion from Mr. Dell. Anyway, thank you all very much. And here we have some great news. President Trump published this on Truth Social. I've just been informed, this is the president, that one of the biggest, best, and smartest retailers in America, Walmart, will be lowering prices by a lot at my administration's request to celebrate our great country's 250th birthday. Walmart will, in particular, be dropping the price for a pound of ground beef by almost 15%, among many other products. This is a huge deal for the many millions of Americans who smartly shop at Walmart, which is a truly patriotic company who loves the USA. My administration is lowering prices that Joe Biden incompetently raised with the worst inflation crisis in history, a total disaster along with the southern border, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, as you recall that, and many other failures. Just as I promised, oil prices are plummeting fast and gas prices at the pump are dropping too, just like egg and prescription drug prices, which I am bringing down by historic levels. Walmart is stepping up in a big and bold way and other retailers should follow the lead of these absolute patriots. Together, we will make America stronger and greater than ever before. President Donald J. Trump. You know, the president is brilliant. He's in control. The military operation is in control. And if you think this through, there's a lot to read into this. But if you think this through, if Walmart, which is already low priced, is dropping these prices, and the president's alluding to other retailers, well, the other retailers may very well have to start dropping prices if they intend to sell anything. Anyway, good move there by our commander-in-chief, President Trump. Also, Toyota has published this. Toyota is moving from Mexico to the United States, to Texas. A really big deal. Tariffs at work, President Donald J. Trump. And here's a couple of other random news bits I want to cover, and then we're going to bring on Will Barney, who will get into some of the things we just talked about and a whole lot more. For the first time, President Trump states, pardon me, central banks plan to cut U.S. dollar holdings over the next decade while increasing allocations to where? To gold and the euro, per Reuters. Big moves happening on this planet with gold. There's a reason they say it's as good as gold, folks. All right, and we are returning to gold-backed currency. The winners of the artificial intelligence, the president says, the winners of the artificial intelligence race will most likely, this is not from the president, this is a news bit. The winners of the artificial intelligence race will mostly be U.S. stocks, with only select names from China making the cut per BlackRock Investments. Okay, so there's the source on that. And let's take a look at, there we go. Well, there's the image, new image. Look at that. President Trump unveils what the new $100 bill will look like. The image shows Trump's signature above Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's following the Treasury Department's March announcement that I've talked about each and every week since, that a sitting president's name would appear on U.S. paper money for the first time in U.S. history. The signature change comes as some lawmakers continue pushing for a separate $250 commemorative bill featuring Trump's portrait, a proposal that would require overcoming a law allowing only deceased individuals to appear on U.S. currency. I, for one, would be very much in favor of, we of course want to keep our incredible Ben Franklin right where he is, but putting President Donald Trump on a $250 bill is something I certainly would vote for because of, well, these gentlemen, Franklin and the rest, of course, formed this great nation. And as Benjamin Franklin said, it's a republic if you can keep it. Well, we lost it. And I'm not proud to say on our watch, even though I have done my part, and I'm sure many of you have too. But unfortunately, most of us were asleep, and we lost it on our watch. And so President Donald J. Trump is saving it. He's restoring our constitutional republic in this global defense war military operation of which he's the supreme commander-in-chief. And so I, for one, would love to see President Trump on the $250 bill. And of course, $250, because that's the 250th anniversary of our country. All right, let's talk about our power guest, our good friend, Mr. Will Barney. Will brings over 19 years of experience in the banking sector, where he has developed a strong specialization in structuring funding for commercial projects on a global scale. That experience comes into enochgs.com. You can learn more about Will by visiting that site, enoch.gs.com. Please welcome our good friend Will Barney, who I'm sure has a lot to unpack for us.
Hi, John. So good to be with you again. There's a lot of exciting things happening here.
There are. Thank you, Will, for your staying on top of so many of the critical issues. And this show, as you well know, focuses on the economic aspect of it, of this reset. But politics plays into all of that, so we bounce in and out of that. But those that would like to learn more about Will Barney's knowledge and staying on the pulse of truth beyond the economic, you can follow Will Barney and by visiting his site. And we'll be posting, he's already in the resource guide on our site, jmcbroadcasting.com. You click on resource guide. There's a grid of other podcasters and patriot movers and shakers. Will Barney's in there, enochgs.com, but there'll be a link put up there in the next 48 hours that'll take you to a landing page that has where you can follow Will on many different platforms, and those links will be available for you there. All right, having said all that, Will, what's on your mind today? Where would you like to begin?
Excellent. Well, you covered some interesting topics there with the current news that has been occurring over the last few days. You know, one of the things that didn't get too much fanfare, and I don't know why, but the Hong Kong exchange, the metal exchange out of Hong Kong, had its biggest day ever on Monday, over 5,000 futures contracts. The largest they had ever seen was but nearly 4 years ago in 22, where they put up 3,000 contracts. Over 5,000 was loaded up on Monday of gold. This is a fascinating move, and it kind of dovetails in with what's been going on with the Comex here in America, as we had 27 million ounces stand for delivery here in the month of July. I think that's a near record number in terms of 1 month. So when you look at the pricing of the metals, that's one thing, but looking at the flow of inventory and what direction it's going tells you another. And I think there's some things coming for metals very soon. We could see price floors coming into existence according to executive orders as early as next week. So what is that going to mean for prices? Well, we're going to wait and see actually what they push the price to. But a price floor means that the price is set. It can't go below that. And the reason they're doing that is to create stability so that mining companies know what to plan for. If price comes down or price goes up and they say, you know what, it's economical to go ahead and do this mining project, they can't invest tens of millions of dollars into a new project on a whim. They have to know that there's a market there that they can actually be profitable in getting that product out of the ground. That's where price floors come in, is it provides that stability to the industry so that we can revise and revitalize each of the mining projects here in the U.S. U.S. was a big producer of silver 100 plus years ago. And we're going to, I think, be another big producer here very soon once those kick in.
Every week on this broadcast, and it's worth mentioning yet again, you're talking about a floor price on silver, and we've pounded it so many times on all the reasons why silver will catapult to stellar heights yet to have been achieved. And you add that with a floor, and then you're talking about gold. You're talking about the president pricing it at 20,000 or plus an ounce, and all the other issues that we have connected the dots on for weeks and weeks on this broadcast about why gold is also going up. Even Jamie Dimon and the central banks are saying that. Again, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time discussing gold and silver. We'll bring Bill Armour in for that August 5th. But folks, don't wait till August 5th. Buy gold, buy silver, buy now, and you know why. Buy now. So give Bill Armour a call. GenesisMetals.com up on the screen. Track Bill down. Leave a message. If you get his voicemail, mention my name. He'll get right back to you. Please, folks, what a huge, huge, huge opportunity. So I didn't realize that about the Hong Kong. Now, I know that when Hong Kong was given back, if for lack of a better term, to China, a couple of 20 years ago, whatever it was, to manage them administratively. Of course, they've overstepped their bounds many times. We remember the great protest the Hong Kong folks had with our American flag singing our national anthem some years back, as you recall. So my question, Will, is that move by Hong Kong separate from mainland China? Because I know mainland China's locked the doors on gold. Are they one and the same, or are they separate?
Well, it's a little bit complex. No, so basically what's happened is the UK, who had control of Hong Kong, gave it back to China a number of years ago. And so now it is technically Chinese territory. However, the London bankers still run the money system in China. So by de facto behind the scenes movement, they're still controlling a lot of this. What's interesting about the futures exchange there is that it's supposed to be an opportunity for those that are in that region of the world to buy, sell, and trade contractually, much like the Comex is here in America or the LBNA in UK. So that's the idea. What's interesting is these kinds of volumes. 5,000 contracts is dramatic in a single trading day. In fact, I don't think it's ever been that many in Asia before. And it's indicating that there's some massive movement to try to build up inventories prior to the moves that are taking place, as many countries are positioning their resources to move to an asset-backed currency, and they're trying to put that in place. It is not advantageous for the price to be excessively high, as that would make it difficult for these countries to acquire the metal. Once they've acquired the metal, however, it would be advantageous for the countries to have the price be moved up. You mentioned 20,000. I think 107's mentioned 20,000 before. At that range, it allows the current inventories of metal being held by each country to then print more currency, right? You can just put more of it out there if the price is higher. So I think that that's ultimately where things are going to go. I don't know exactly how soon gold's going to make those major moves, but I think ultimately down the road, long term, that's probably where it goes, because it needs to back what's coming in terms of the new currency. Silver has a part to play as well, but silver is a little bit different in the fact that it's such an industrial use metal. Currently, over the last 5 or 6 years, over 60% of the annual production of silver has all gone right into industrial uses where it's consumed into electronics, chip making, and other things. So this consumption of the metal is making it challenging. Meanwhile, you have everybody stacking. All those that are saving are stacking it. And this has led to, of course, massive reductions in inventory levels. We used to have some reserves, but we've eaten into the reserves for 6 straight years, where the production has not been sufficient for the consumption. And you can't consume larger than your production levels, and eventually you run out. And so we're coming close to that. And all of this is, of course, interrelated with the other events that are going on. We just had, as you say, some very important events that took place here in America, the 250th celebration. As part of that, Donald Trump put the Liberty Gold Eagle on the White House. That has usually been something people would put on their house when they are debt-free. So when they get out of their mortgage, gets paid off, they put that on their house, indicating this house is free, right? No more debt slavery. Donald Trump placed a gilded gold eagle on the White House as a gift, as he said to America. So many are talking about, what that means. And typically that means that the U.S. is debt-free. But when you say the U.S., you have to differentiate whether we're talking corporate domain or we're talking the actual government itself. Because the sovereignty government is different than corporate. And, we've had discussions on this in previous broadcasts about what those differences are. And essentially, the events that we saw take place, both the 3rd of July at Mount Rushmore and the speech that was given, and then again on the 4th of July, the flyovers, over 200 aircraft, military aircraft did flyovers. That's never been done before. The biggest fireworks show ever. Donald Trump set a world record for the biggest fireworks show in D.C., where they launched 850,000 shells. Unbelievable, huh? In fact, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Last year's celebration was 20,000 shells, to give you an idea. Wow. So obviously this was a big celebration. And I think the celebration had more to do with that gold eagle and the representation of being debt-free than it did anything else. Now, just because that's being done and people that are awake are aware of this, doesn't mean they're ready to overtly tell the public that yet. And so I think there's some parts to play out in the story here before we get to the very public portion of this. And I think that's partly why Juan is doing this summit coming up here in September, is we're starting to get to the in-your-face stuff, right? It's been a bit, I guess you could call it covert. I don't know that it's been totally covert, because the Q operation wasn't exactly covert. It was broadcasting comms. But ultimately, there's a lot of people that are still asleep. So if they don't see it on CNN or MSNBC or perhaps the BBC or somewhere like this, they don't think it's real. And so that's been a challenge with the media, and we're going to have a little bit more of this. As you know, I had a discussion with somebody earlier today about Trump derangement syndrome and the difficulty that this is, because it shows us very publicly that people are so programmed they can't even believe their own eyes. Like they can't see something and say, "Oh, wait, this is happening," because the programming is so real, right? They're in an alternate reality. It's the Matrix, and they can't figure out how to wake up from it.
That's not an exaggeration, folks. That is an accurate summary. Obviously, varying degrees per individual, but it's that locked. They're that locked in. Again, The Matrix was more of a documentary than it was an entertaining film, and we can see that playing out by the victims of Trump derangement syndrome. You unpacked a few things here that inspired me to share a few things with you, Will, and our audience. Well, before I do that, anything else you gleaned from the July 4th events?
Yes, there's several things. The general theme, if you listen to both of Trump's speeches on the 3rd and Mount Rushmore and on the 4th. Now, he duplicated what he did in 2020. 2020, he did a Mount Rushmore speech followed by fireworks, and then he goes to DC and does the same thing again. But this time was even bigger and bigger fanfare. Of course, there was a lot of rumor circulating that JFK Jr. was alive and that he was on top of the mountain during all of that, the Mount Rushmore.
I remember.
Of course, that's not been publicized necessarily, but it wouldn't be a surprise either, necessarily, if you follow the Q drops and everything that's been going on. So Donald Trump does an exact replay of this. Now, he runs into a problem on the 4th of July in that this lightning storm comes in and starts shutting everything down. He didn't know if he was going to give the speech. In fact, they wanted him to just forego it and not do it at all. And he says, "No, we're doing this on the 4th of July, even if we got to wait for the storm." Right after the speech, which was about 40 minutes or so, then they did the big fireworks display. And during the fireworks display, there was lightning hitting the Washington Monument. Now, it has a lightning rod in it to dispel that. But lightning was hitting the monument during the fireworks display. So it was, to me, it was a bit of a sign, a heavenly sign, if you will, that these events were being blessed. And so I think that that's one of the things that's important about this. The 250th is significant, but so was the 125th before. And who was president then? Well, it was Teddy Roosevelt. And Donald Trump went and dedicated the Teddy Roosevelt Library and Museum in North Dakota just this last week, and talked all about that. So, and what was interesting about Teddy Roosevelt's time is he came right after McKinley. McKinley was assassinated because he was implementing the U.S., shall we say, the U.S. financial system, and that system was tariffs to bring in revenue. And in fact, it was so successful that the U.S. had to form a commission to figure out where to spend the money. So you had that going on. He gets assassinated. Then Teddy Roosevelt becomes the president. thereafter, and inherits this one of the more wealthy and prosperous times in American history. And Donald Trump wanted to feature that this last week, which he did. And of course, and now we're at the 250th, and we're about to launch. And he's declared in both speeches and a lot over the last 2 weeks that this is the start of the golden age. And so it's going to be all new from here. Everything's going to be a ground, a territory we haven't covered before. If you look at the Declaration of Independence, and he has it mounted on the Oval Office right on the wall where he can show it to people, pull the curtains back. Here's the Declaration of Independence. He's very proud of that. In his speech in July 4th of 2020 during COVID, he said that he had signed that morning the Declaration of Independence. And so everybody's like, well, what is that? What's that document? But according to a transcript that was sent to me, and I won't be able to fully verify this until Trump releases it himself, but that second Declaration of Independence is all about the separation from the city of London, from the bankers, from all of this. And it specifies those particular individuals, including the Vatican and others. So very interesting document if that's proves to be real, and doesn't supersede the original, but adds to it as a second Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, just that, a Declaration of Independence, as you cited London. This time it'll be long-standing. Let's hope and pray. I want to go back to the dawning of the golden age you mentioned. A lot of folks out there are saying, well, I don't see anything happening with the dawning of the golden age. Dawning is your key word, folks. It's just rising, just beginning, just coming into. It's going to be years, and as this thing goes and grows and the world changes. So be grateful and recognize it's the dawning of the golden age. And also, you talked about the lightning striking the monument. I saw the image of that, and I think you're right. A blessing or a sign from above. My contribution to that notion is the storm is upon us, folks. The storm was there, and who's the storm? We are the storm, and we were making a big event about it. And apparently, we got a little nod from above. Perhaps I would throw that out there. Also, we talked about,
it also shows up on the bill. When you, in your monologue, you talked about the new $100 bill. And if you look at that closely, you've got a security strip that's right through the middle. Everything on the right side, interesting, it's the right side, is gold. You've got a gold ink well, you've got a gold quill pen, you've got the 100 in gold. I don't know if there it is. Thank you for throwing the image up. So everything on the right side, see that? Gold ink well, gold quill, the 100 in gold. This is the transition. And now it's right there in front of us for all to see.
Absolutely. And folks, again, as I added some additional content in my monologue, and I'll do this on these shows moving forward, additional disclaimer. And in that second half of disclaimer, I talked about, people like Will and I and many others do our best, do our research. We get official data from the government like that screenshot. And the rest, we go down our rabbit holes, our resources, and we connect the dots to the best of our ability for you folks. There's a new currency coming, a in part gold-backed U.S. Treasury note, rainbow, whatever you want to call it. It's coming, and it's coming to a theater near you soon. And that really begins an interesting battle. Again, parallel currencies in parallel economic systems. I want to go back to something that I picked up, I'm sure you did, and maybe we'll get a chuckle out of this, but it's worthy of mentioning. The president did say in one of those two speeches, 3rd or 4th of July, something, I'm paraphrasing. He said something like, it was mostly me, because I didn't get a whole lot of help from Congress to protect your Second Amendment rights. Me and John. John? What do you make of that, Will?
Oh, a lot of people thought he was talking about John Thune. I don't think so. Look at the
Correct.
The results of John Thune, a different John. Many
different-
speculate he was referring to John, which we all know
Absolutely.
as JFK Jr.
Correct. Well, maybe a little hat tip for those of us following the JFK Jr.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory. And you know what, folks? And I know our audience knows this. I had a nice discussion with Rachel Right Side Blonde. She actually interviewed me, I think, in the third issue of the second George magazine, of course, not the original. And we have a little bit of history, but we had a wonderful discussion recently. And follow Rachel Right Side Blonde. I believe she's got a good YouTube channel. She's done some great work on the anomalies concerning JFK Jr. No question about that. I like Rachel quite a bit. Good person, good patriot, and a truth seeker, just like everybody else in our circle. Also, to make mention here before we move on to any place you'd like to take us, Will, I took notes when you were speaking, and I'm looking at them. So, all right, here we have. It's been brought to my attention. Let's talk about 107 just for a moment. I used the word covert. We've been in a covert operation for the 10 years, but you're right. Q was overt, but not very direct. You had to do a lot of connecting, through the Q drops. The Q decoders were valuable, but we are moving into a phase. And to our viewers, you've got to listen to the war reports. They're on our website. They're archived on the Rumble channel. And there's, Guardian Daniel R. As the author of these reports, all my resources, you hear people say, well, I got contacts and so forth. All mine are public. You want to know where I get all my information from? Go to jmcbroadcasting.com and click on contributors. That's where. Now, Guardian Daniel R. is there, and he's the only one that remains anonymous. And even to me, although we have spoken in various ways over the last year or so, it's the content that got my attention, not necessarily the individual. If the individual wants to remain anonymous, so be it. It's to be respected. So I have one anonymous source, but you can follow him on Telegram, Guardian Daniel R. But I'm absolutely encouraging, because I just took 21 war reports authored by Daniel, Guardian Daniel R. And I consolidated them into 8 war report episodes, so they stay in a 20-minute range. As I read the reports and recorded them for the public, 2 have been released, July 7th and 8th. Keep watching them. It tells the story, folks. And there's a lot of reveals there. But I want to also mention, we see Juan Savin now, don't we? We saw him on Real American News or Real Voice, whatever the platform was called. Black coat, jacket rather, white shirt, Kris Kringle, big white beard, Juan Savin. I think it was Trennis Evans. Incidentally, I'm the one who introduced the two of them many years ago. It was great to see, but what is that telling us? Anything Juan does is not by accident either. All of a sudden, he's fully displayed himself at the Freedom Summit, at the new summit coming up, now on news channels and other podcaster interviews. All I can say is this. When you get through my war reports, thank you, Daniel, you will start to connect the dots on what the statement was, the operation is moving into the sunlight now more than ever, and increasingly so as the weeks go by between today and the end of this year. One more comment about Juan. I've known Juan, as we've talked about, for 7 years, and we've met many, many times. But the point is, and he shared a lot of data with me, and I know he has access to our commander-in-chief and president face-to-face, as well as through encrypted technologies. It's my understanding he very recently met with the president as well. So follow Juan, folks, and now you can get to see what he looks like, and I find that to be no accident whatsoever. I'm in Thailand, so I got a vast time difference. Juan travels all the continents. Very difficult between my demanding broadcasting schedule, Juan in demand in the media circle, plus all the work he does behind the scenes, and the time zones. But Juan and I have made an agreement with each other, and we're trying to fulfill it. That every 6 weeks, Juan and I sit down for just Juan and John, like we used to do years ago, for a special broadcast. We have a tentative date lined up, so stay tuned to our broadcasting. Thanks for listening, Will. I want one other thing. Let's see where we go here. Well, that's kind of what was on my mind. If you have any feedback about what I just dropped, please do so. If not, take us
Uh,
on to the next subject.
yeah, well, there is, and over the last 2 weeks, we've had the Department of War on several different occasions has come out very openly confirming the presence of Q and Q's posts, and the president himself confirming, of course, as we talked about in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't covert anymore, right?
That's right.
And I know for a long time, when it's covert, the media gets this opportunity to go to call everybody conspiracy theories and that this is nuts, all this stuff that's happening. You guys are crazy, and Q is just some far right wing political movement. But now, when you have the military and the president confirming the Q drops, you start to realize now you have to understand we've been fighting a war in which the enemy is in our own camp. When the enemy's in your own camp, you have to act differently. You have to act in covert ways, and you give the Q drops would give various dates, but the dates weren't meant for us. The dates are meant for the enemy. In every war, you have two primary tools. You have deception, number one, and then number two, you have ammunition or bullets. Thankfully, the military has chosen a path that, albeit it's taken a little longer than some of us wanted to happen, a path that's kept us primarily just in a deception or information war zone rather than live bullets going back and forth, unless you live in Iran right now, in which case, well, they're being bombed again. So that's a different scenario, and I think Donald Trump is losing patience very fast with that. But nevertheless, everywhere else in the world, we would have been in World War III had the cabal had their way. So he will go down as the peace president. And for those that say this is taking too long, you will learn to appreciate that he preserved your lives by the end of this. And that we all arrived at a destination together, and we're still alive by the grace of God.
Well
so
said.
I think it's been a very interesting turn of events of how they've done it, but most importantly, I think they've done it for the love of human life.
I would agree completely. And again, I'm going to say it probably one or two more times before this broadcast is over. Folks, the narrative that Will just shared with us, we go into great detail with that on multiple fronts, summarizing what we've been through for the last 10 years in these war reports. Compliments of Guardian Daniel R., who's taking a much needed rejuvenation break right now. There was a delay in me reporting these due to some things happening behind the scenes, as well as my chronic coughing, which you can see has subsided about 80%. So I'm going back to June 8th through present. Daniel has ceased the war reports for the time being. You've got to listen to these reports. It takes everything Will is saying to the nth degree on everything we've been through on every front. It's fascinating, and a lot of reveals in there. I, for one, learned quite a bit and validated quite a bit for me. It's fascinating. It's for the history books. But anyway, any other things that caught your attention? What do you think of the child accounts, the Trump accounts for the kids? I thought that clip we ran in the beginning is extraordinary. Here's all these little children. They're going to be worth $300,000 by the time they're 18.
This was it was history being made. First of all, this is the first time ever that the stock markets were started from the White House. So that was a first in terms of ringing the bell at the White House. The other is that the launch of the Trump accounts, of course, this was first announced many, many months ago that it would launch on the 4th of July. It is a representation of no longer indebting our children under various, shall we say, trust accounts with birth certificates, and instead we're liberating them with assets. And so this is a very historic moment, what was taking place there. Each child is allowed to have contributions of up to $5,000 per year. The government, if the child has been born in the year 25 through 28, will contribute $1,000. But, you know, family, friends, the grandparents, whatever, can contribute up to $5,000 per year. If those accounts are maximized, yes, there would be nearly $250,000 by the age of 18. If they did not touch that money, they would have well over $1 million for retirement. So it just depends on what each of those children are going to decide to do with that. But this is so empowering, and it shows us that we're moving away from debt enslavement and we're moving to asset liberation. And I thought it was not only important, but it was a symbolic gesture of what is exactly happening with the financial system as a whole.
Thank you. Well, we had a little disruption with the Wi-Fi there, but I heard what you said. Absolutely, and thanks for connecting some of the elements of that for us. And you know, my comment is, these children, and thank goodness for that, will not grow up the way you and I grew up, as debt slaves from the birth certificate stamp to the grave, from the cradle to the grave. But for us, it won't be to the grave, because we too have relief. We can't we can't change history that's already happened in our upbringing as tyrannical, controlled debt slaves. But we will have repatriation of that stolen tax money and perhaps some other fraudulent contracts, and we will have high universal income. So there's our relief, folks. But equally, if not more important, is the future. And those children are the future, to think of the Whitney Houston big hit. And so I thought it was a wonderful moment watching that unfold. And this truly is an incredible president. And we've discussed this before, but I'm curious. Well, what do you think? We're just taking a crapshoot guess here. Will we see President Trump on Mount Rushmore at some point? I think we will. I don't know how and when or what it takes to make that happen, but boy, is it deserved. What do you think? We're just having a chat here. We don't have any intel on Mount Rushmore, but go ahead, Will. What do you think?
I think it's definitive it will happen. But I think that comes after all of this is unveiled, and that we're fully experiencing and living in the golden age. And I think there will be cries across the entire nation to honor him for what he did. Because if you look at the presidents on that mountain, they all did very specific things that brought a greater liberty, life, and abundance to humanity and this country in general. And if you look at the work of Donald Trump, he certainly deserves to be among them. And so my hope is, yes, that he will be there. I think we've had a lot of hat tips to that, and I don't think that is happenstance. I think that is a preparation in the minds of people that his face will be on the mountain one day.
I agree with that analysis from top to bottom. Anything else catch your attention, worthy of you and I having a chat about during the last week or so?
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things going on in this week, and even beyond America. So if you look at globally, we've had, in fact, just in the last 24 hours, Donald Trump has been in Turkey for the NATO summit.
Yes.
And at the summit, he made some comments, sitting there with Mark Rutte, who is the Secretary General of NATO. And the press was asking him questions. And he talked about Spain. And he said Spain was terrible. They haven't paid their NATO dues. They haven't done this or that. And he turned over to Scott Bessent and he said, I want you to end all trade with them right now. I want you to end everything. In fact, we don't even want their people coming here. I want you to end the he turned to the Secretary of State Rubio and he says, we don't even want their visitors coming here. Within a few hours, Spain had had written a check and made a full payment to NATO, and suddenly everything was shifted around.
How about that?
Donald Trump is the leader of the free world. There is
Without
no
question.
question about it. And he is using that position for the benefit of the world, not to enrich himself, but he's calling everyone to attention, and he's making them step up to their own responsibilities for the sake of their own people. It's interesting. I have opportunity, as you do, to talk to people all over the world each week from various countries, at least 5 continents. And do you know what they tell me? It's very interesting. They say the United States has to win complete and total liberty because the rest of us have already lost it, and we have no hope if you don't retain it. Isn't that interesting? And this is from people from Asia, from Australia, from Africa, all over the world, who say generally the same things. And they all want Jasara. They want the freedom. They want liberty. And they know that it's going to begin here. And they look to this president and they say, your president has done more for all of us than any person in history, even in our own country. And that's a very interesting statement to hear from people in other countries.
So we can clearly see by that analysis, Will, that when we talk about a great awakening for many years here, popular jargon, if you will, in the movement, it is global. It is absolutely global, and it took time for it to get there. And we're not going to sit here and acknowledge the counter narrative to that, which is a complete flip flop of it all. These people, the lunatics will remain lunatics. Leave them on the side of the road. Don't care. Everybody else who's not a lunatic, who's just not awake yet, that's still jumping on the Trump is bad news, we've all been duped situation. These people are going to eat crow very big way. And again, I'll plug it again. Watch to our viewers, listen to each war report they published every day of the week for the next 30 days and share them everywhere if you want to continue to help put the truth out there to people of what's really going on. But it's nice to hear that the world sentiment by and large is as you've just described. And President Trump, I don't have the list in front of me. Perhaps you know off the top of your head, Will, some of the NATO nations that really in part what President Trump did in the operation in Iran, which of course is still ongoing, bombs away, but he let the nations, he does what he always does. He let them expose themselves. We now know which ones wouldn't help us in the war. And those are the ones that are having some difficulty now. Go ahead, Will. Comment on that.
He said yes. He said yesterday openly to the press, all the cameras rolling.
Mm-hmm.
I was testing them to see who would do the right thing.
Yep.
And none of them offered to help.
That's
Not
right.
one.
Mm-hmm.
This is very fascinating, and people are watching this, right? All over the world, they're watching this. And so there's a variety of things going on there. Nigel Farage in the UK just resigned from Parliament. I don't know if you saw that bit of news, but because he's trying to force an issue there to set the country back on a footing, force an election. The problem in the UK is the same problem in many of the other countries of Europe, and been the same problem here in America. The corruption of vote systems has led to a complete stealing of entire governments around the world. And this has not been properly exposed, but I have a feeling we're about to see it. Now that we've got a new acting DNI, Director of National Intelligence, Bill Pulte, the word on the back channels is that Tulsi left stacks of documents ready to be released. The fact that Donald Trump has given Bill Pulte carte blanche authority. This has never been done before, where the president has said to a director of any agency of the government, you have full authority to declassify whatever you think you should. That's never been done before, and he would only do that if he had faith and trust in Bill Pulte. So I think that we're going to see some things, and they're going to be, the evidence I think will be so damning, it's going to shake this nation to its core. Because we just had recently primary elections in many of the states, and then the people that won those primary elections, now they're standing for an elected position in November. But can you have that November election when all the primaries are cooked, when you've used Smartmatic and Dominion and installed people there that shouldn't be there? This is all going to be exposed. And I think by the time we get to September, October-ish, there's going to be some real questions that have to be answered. And the only answer is the military shut it down and we restart the election process. And I think ultimately that's when we'll get to an EBS. So the EBS is probably late in the year, is my guess, because I think we need to have this expose, if you will, disclosures about all of this fraud that leads up to that. And does that affect the financial stuff? Yes, it does, but they're kind of on parallel paths. So I think the financial stuff is being held back to coincide with some of this other information that needs to be processed. So everybody's wondering, why don't we have the Clarity Act passed? Why aren't we getting on with protecting this new financial system? Well, I think the timing of that is more controlled than you might realize, because I think there is military timing to the way all of this plays out, and I think that they want it to play out in a certain format. So we're going to, I said last week in our broadcast that we were in the sequence of events. We can't speed them up. We can't slow them down. We can't change them. We've already started the sequence. And I think that will carry through the summer. We're having the hottest summer ever for many that are here in America and Europe. Europe has lost over 1,000 people to heat stroke over the last 2 weeks. It's unprecedented, the heat. And the fascinating thing is that for many years ago, you had various people that call themselves prophets like Kim Clement and others who talked about a hot summer followed by the fall of the cabal in the fall. Well, it's looking like there's some potential for that. I'm not here to say whether Kim Clement is a prophet or not. That's for somebody else to decide. What is interesting is these things don't seem to be coincidental and the way that they're playing out. So as we look at these events, what is important, and being that this is the financial show, I want to kind of make a nod to this. Everybody's looking for this reset. When are we going to get it done? When's it going to be over with? When can I go on with our asset-backed currency? I think the thing you have to take in mind is that we don't get there until everything's done. So no one can give you a date. That's an impossibility. We can say, well, we have X, Y, and Z still to do. So when these are done, then conditions are ready to have that reset. And I think that's the most appropriate way to look at it. For those that are following this every day, you need to breathe a little bit. We've got a little ways to go to get through some of the processing of this information, and take a break from social media once in a while. Go for a walk, enjoy nature, get your batteries recharged, get centered. And if there was a message I could give everybody today, I think it's this. Don't let the enemy throw you off center. You should be centered and at peace with truth and where you stand in your relationship with God. Don't let the enemy throw you off of that. It's when you start getting caught up in all of these possible dates that come and go, that throw you off of that center, then you get very emotional. It gets all crazy. We don't need people to be crazy. We need all of you out there who are awake and aware of this to hold that place of peace, to hold consciousness in a place of calm and directness, because this storm will rage, and we're going to watch it rage here. And I think it's going to take all of us to be that place of peace, to be that stability to help our friends, our neighbors who are dealing with the emotional roller coaster of the storm, to help them through it. And they're going to lean on us, and we need to be that solidarity for them to help them through this.
So well said, and without question, this is God's plan. Trump is anointed. He's the commander in chief. He's the supreme commander of the Allied forces, here and off here, to an extent. And so if you trust in God, then you should trust in the plan that everyone laughs at when we say trust the plan. And your advice is very good, Will, in terms of we shouldn't worry about what we can't control. And if you do trust the plan, let it unfold. And a lot of folks, I saw it coming. They all expected July 4th to be all kinds of things. You mentioned JFK Jr. would show up, or the new currency is going to come out, and all these other things. And if you go back and look at some of the broadcasts, I didn't necessarily feed into those notions very much. It would be nice if it happened. But again, people, we create our own disappointment. If you want to expect anything, just expect the unexpected. And as Will said, get out there and smell the roses along the way. Pray, plan, and prepare for sure. Once you get all that tucked away, watch the show unfold. That's really as simple as that. And whittle your sources down for intaking of content to the few that you find credible, valuable, and then do your own homework and come to your own counsel, come to your own conclusions, your higher self. But the theme here is ground yourself. Don't let these things throw you off course. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, because here's what's left as we wrap up our time with Will Barney, and I thank you for this time, Will, is between today and the end of this year, we'll use the midterms as the end of the year, beginning of November. What can we expect, in my humble opinion, in this time frame? No dates. And could the time frame be off a bit? Perhaps. But this is what I see, in my humble opinion. We're going to have a scare event. That's going to happen. As Juan has told us, using the metaphor of a hurricane, it's a Cat 6 coming. We're at the Cat 2 level. That means the outer bands are hitting us hard. That concentrated eye in a Cat 6 is severe. It's not here yet. So that means some trouble on the way. Again, pray, plan, and prepare. Whittle down your sources of information. Surround yourself with like-minded people who do understand the times in which we live in. Expand those circles. Because another thing here, you talked about how hot it is in Europe and America. I wonder where Al Gore is these days, but that's just a little jab at Al Gore. But the couple of other things I want to comment on, and we'll give you the last word here, Will, is so in my humble opinion, between today and the elections, I agree with you. I agree with Juan and many others, Ricardo Bossi, high probability, because we're not ready. We don't want any more elections stolen. We don't want to have to fight in rigged courts to barely be able to reverse things. We're not going to have a midterm election in November. More than likely, in my opinion, it will. I agree with you, Will. It will be delayed and should be delayed based on what we know. Last couple of things, the EBS, I agree with you there as well. I knew darn well it wasn't going to happen on July 4th. I knew darn well the new currency wasn't going to be issued on July 4th. First off, the EBS isn't going to, one of the whole points of the EBS is to launch it. It's not going to be pre-announced. Number two, we're not ready for the new currency yet. And there's a whole host of reasons, step by step by step. And we've been dripping out those steps very well with Will Barney and our other great guests on this broadcast over the last year. We're going to have a serious bond issue as the year progresses. It's another thing we can look forward to. And at the same time, we're going to have tremendous progress being made. But I'll tell you this, in my opinion, and kicking the can down. I'm so tired of listening to those Debbie Downers and that stuff. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm not even going to speak to it. The truth of the matter is the plan is unfolding exactly with military precision as it needs to. So chill out, Pray, plan, prepare, surround yourself with the right people, whittle your sources down to good content that you find valuable, do your own research, and just once you're prepared and grounded in your faith and otherwise, is enjoy the show. That's really, and it sounds crazy because it's so big and so damaging, but it's a good way to look at it. And don't have false expectations. Expect the unexpected would be a good piece of advice, and let it play out, folks. But this is the dawning of the golden age. If I had a team of researchers to take the time, and perhaps we can use AI and stuff for this, and list out all these stellar, incredible things that have taken place in these last 10 years, even in just the last less than 2 years. And you then tell me there isn't a plan. Then tell me we aren't winning. And if you're still in that camp, change the channel and don't watch us anymore. Why bother watching us? We're on complete opposite ends of the pole. So I've got nothing to close us out with here of substance. So Will, why don't you close us out? You actually have already done it, but your final words before we leave Will Barney, and we won't be seeing Will until August 5th on the GFR. However, Will and I are doing a special broadcast to pick up where Will and I just left off on what is happening. We'll unpack things in quite a unique way in that special broadcast. But your closing comments, Will.
Yeah, John, we've been working for a long time putting together systems in place to launch humanitarian projects. What became very clear, even now nearly the 2 decades that have passed since that started, is that in this current corrupted system, it would have been an impossibility to move money into various projects and have it actually arrive there on time. And it would have been difficult to even launch some of the projects because of the heavy regulatory environment of control. And so they would have found some way or another to kibosh these great projects anyway. And so this entire war, if you will, against this control grid system needs to come down, because we can't really prosper. We can't really be liberated until we get this over with. Once that's done, I think things are going to move very rapidly in terms of access to move funds. This new financial system is so amazing because you can move money peer-to-peer in seconds. And if you were to do that in the bank system today, and I could give you examples, but I won't bore everybody. If you're trying to move money from America and you want to move it around the world, let's say you want to move it to Thailand, where John is. It's going to move through multiple countries on its path there, and every one of them wants to sit and play with the money on the way. It's going to take some time. Now, if you have smaller amounts, they might just let that through. Okay, it's not big enough for them to worry about. But when you get into big amounts, like what's going to be funding major projects, very sticky, very slow. Lot of issues come up that they will give you all kinds of issues. Oh, we got to do this. We got to check that. Oh, there could be fraud in this transaction somewhere. And 2 weeks later, after you prove every document in the world to them, oh, that might have been just a false accusation. Yeah, you can go ahead and have your money. Meanwhile, they've been playing with $2 billion for 2 weeks. Okay. This is the kind of environment we currently have. That isn't conducive to blessing the world and healing it and making it better. So what we're about in this war, this liberation, is that we need to have full autonomy to be able to move our money according to the dictates of our own heart, according to conscience, and be able to move that into things that are actually blessing and helping people, and have it go right now. No more waiting. Let's get it done, and let's make the world a better place. And I think that this is what we have to look forward to. So for those of you that have been waiting and wondering, don't wait. Be a part of the solution. And the solution is if all you can do, if you feel like, Well, there's nothing I can do. I just sit in Wisconsin and I don't have any connection to anybody anywhere. Then hold your space. Go sit on your chair on your porch, be in peace, and hold that space for humanity, because that makes a difference in the consciousness of all of us and helps hold a place where people can weather this storm that we're in already, and it's going to get more intense, so that we can arrive together where we go one, we go all at the end, and launch these projects into great fanfare. And they're not going to go just instantly everywhere. You have to understand the powers that be, the money behind this, and there's plenty of money, by the way. I just want to make this clear. Our country does, the whole world, it doesn't matter, any country. The world does not have a lack problem. What it has is a control grid that convinces you there's lack. Okay? And that's a whole different scenario. But what is important is we don't want to let's say that you release a bunch of abundance. It's important that you don't throw that out there into projects too quickly, too fast. And the reason I say this is because you will disrupt industry. If you took $50 billion and you threw it into one industry, the soda pop industry or whatever, right? You could disrupt the entire industry, change the pricing of everything, might even drive prices up, and you create an artificial price discovery. That isn't helpful for humanity. What you need projects carefully planned that build on what's working and then go from there to make something better. I'm not a fan of soda, so that's probably a bad example, but the idea is the same. It doesn't matter what industry or sector of the economy is. It's important that we don't move so quickly that we cause disruption to what's going, but that we grow and build on what is good already and make it better in the future. And that's going to take a number of years of work. But as long as we're doing that, I think you'll see that escalate, and that there will be a speeding up of the process of that. So I don't think it's going to take a long time, but I think we have to do this logarithmically so that we're not blowing things up in the process. We're enhancing what we have already and then taking it to the next level. So thank you, John, for letting me come on the show and be with you. For those that are trying to follow us, you can go to EnochGS, EnochGS.com. You can learn a little bit about what we're doing there. We are building systems to launch and manage projects around the world. And there is some more development yet to go in this before we have the foundation all completed. And but once that's done, things go well. We'll be in 100 countries in the next 10 to 12 years, launching projects everywhere and blessing the people in the best way that we can. And we'd love to partner with any of you out there that are coming into maybe some gifts and blessings from these current events that are taking place, and you want to help your country or your community. We may have some tools and resources to help you in it. That would be fun to work with you on that and see your projects be realized in a way that's really making a significant difference in the areas you care about.
Thank you, Will. Great work you're doing. And my closing comment is, bear in mind to our audience, Jubilee's coming, debt forgiveness. We have wealth repatriation from the taxes that have been taken from us. We have high universal income. And of course, all these things, we've connected all the dots on. We've cited all the sources throughout the year. It's coming. And those that have investable assets, while I don't have a crystal ball, but it would stand to reason that XRP and perhaps some other cryptos might be a good place to be. Certainly gold and silver. And those type of holdings, in my humble opinion, are going to catapult. So you're talking about wealth repatriation, debt forgiveness, high universal income, and those choosing wisely in the right sectors or specific investment opportunities like the ones I've mentioned. There's going to be a lot of wealth and a lot of relief coming our way, and you'll want to give Will Barney a call at 480-536-9100. And for those already in position, learn more about Enoch gs.com. Thank you, Will Barney, good friend, good man, doing God's work, and a great resource for me here. I look forward to the special broadcast with you. Thank you, Will Barney. And now we're going to bring on our next guest,
Thank you,
founder of
John.
Triad.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Will. You bet, sir. Thank you very much. To our producer, there we go. Founder of triadretire.com, retirement planning specialist, Brandon Clarke. Say hello to Brandon. This is very important, folks. If you are retired, listen up. If you're planning to retire, you can't make mistakes. Inaction, wrong action can be the regret of a lifetime right now. Even with all the good things coming our way, we have to be good stewards of what we have today in the systems we are in to protect and preserve during the transition of this reset. So let's bring Brandon Clarke on from North Carolina. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Hey, John, I am doing great. It's an honor to be on tonight.
Thank you for being here. You know, what I'd like, we got a bit of a bounce back there. Maybe, yeah, there we go. What I would like to do in the next 15 or 20 minutes, and again, everyone should listen, but particularly those retired or planning, those that actually plan ahead for, people say you can't predict the future. Well, sort of tongue in cheek, you can predict the future if you plan for it, right? So you don't want to be a leaf just blown around in the wind. Take control of things. Remember, the global financial reset doesn't happen with, well, let me rephrase that. What comes to the dance are dangers and opportunities. We want to avoid the dangers and seize the opportunities. 107, as mentioned earlier with Will Barney, Category 6, we're only at a Category 2 phase, and Juan has stated the most damage and difficult transition for us in getting our country back and our world straight is yet to come, yet to hit us, and it will be felt in the financial sector. So if you're retired, please listen up. This is very important. Brandon and I have created something called Strategies for Retirees. We are launching, I think, tomorrow, the very first episode. Brandon and I recorded, first is 8 episodes. It's a curriculum. It's strictly an educational format. It's not a talk of current events and so forth. It is specifically education, micro-niched focused for those in retirement or getting those planning for retirement. And so I'm going to briefly go over with Brandon here what these 8 episodes are about. By the way, you don't have to wait to get through all 8 episodes to get some questions answered. That's why we have Brandon Clarke's phone number on the screen. If you have questions, you don't have to wait 8 weeks. We're releasing 1 show per week. We still got 40 yet to record. And then they'll be archived permanently on the homepage of wealthcoachuniversity.com because it's evergreen material that's extremely valuable for those looking to protect and preserve income and growth with zero downside risk in retirement. We're going to break these down. So episode 1 is titled The No Room for Error Zone. And basically, Brandon and I recap what the global financial reset's about, what some of those dangers and opportunities are. And by the way, these episodes, they're all under 30 minutes. And some of them include graphics and charts and some visuals. But in episode 1, we break down, which gets published, I believe, tomorrow. We break down the global financial reset a bit, the greatest concerns facing retirees today. We talk about fixed income securities, 22 different asset classes, and who are potential candidates for annuities. So in the interest of time, Brandon, just comment on 2 things in episode 1. What are some of the greatest concerns facing retirees today?
Yeah, so the I would say the number one, well, there are a number of concerns. So, inflation is a concern, healthcare cost is a concern, but I would say the number one concern that people have is outliving their money. So with planning, we can make sure that that doesn't happen. A lot of people that do not plan these days, when they go to retire, they have plenty of funds. But if you don't plan out to live for 30 years, then all it takes is one downturn in the market or something major to occur, and your retirement accounts, will change a lot. So what we try to do is make sure people have guaranteed income plans that pay them for life, that cannot change, cannot end based on future circumstances. To cover, at minimum, the fixed expenses plus 10% with inflation, and we do calculations for each individual client. But we just want to make sure that they know that's going to pay them forever. It cannot end. Somebody goes out, gambles some money, or does something wrong in the 30 years of retirement, well, the next month that paycheck's going to keep coming in with their Social Security. So I would say, the greatest concern that I hear from people is to make sure that their money lasts. And a lot of people want to pass on a legacy as well.
Thank you. And I'm going to mention this one last time in this broadcast, not fear porn, not fear based, warning based. We've been told Cat 6, we're at Cat 2 level. People have had it up to their eyeballs with all the disruptions in our life to our health and wealth and our free speech and our liberties and freedoms. And people are pulling their hair out of their head right now. Remember, we're only at Category 2 and heading to a 6, perhaps this year is my guesstimate. Therefore, not fear, you've got the warning. So prepare. So again, back to our curriculum in episode 1. One last question to you, Brandon, and we'll move into episode 2. Who would be annuities are instruments that can help people in retirement. We'll break them down in a moment. Who would be a potential candidate for an annuity?
So the main age group I would say are people that are 55 to 70. They have money, in savings. They have assets that they have built, and we always implore the bucket strategy. We want to make sure that they have a bucket to cover their income needs, their fixed expenses needs. They may have that through Social Security, pensions, other sources already, but if they don't, we want to ensure that's covered. And then we also look at an area to put money where it cannot go down. So if you always have money in multiple buckets, if we do have a downturn in the market and you need to pull money from somewhere, you can pull money that has not had a chance of loss, will continue to grow as years go by confidently. So that gives you a nice synopsis of who would be a candidate. And every situation is different, and risk aversion, risk tolerance is part of the equation as well. But I just want to make sure people know these options are available because a lot of people don't.
Thank you. Episode 2 on strategies for retirees, that'll publish next week, is what is an annuity? That's what it's titled. Well, Brandon breaks down, defines annuities, generally speaking, suitability and compliance, that's the key thing, contractual guarantees, how they work, state association guarantees, how they work as an extra layer of protection, and some of the benefits, the tax-deferred growth, the risks, and the rewards, and the restrictions are covered in episode 2. We don't have time to get into that right now, but if you can comment on suitability and compliance as it relates to the issuing of an annuity contract to an investor. What is suitability and compliance about? Why is that so important?
So we do upfront planning, obviously, to figure out the goals of the retiree, income, assets, expenses. We want to make sure you're prepared for anything that occurs throughout retirement. I do that also as part of suitability and compliance from the annuity issuer. There are paperwork that we must fill out that's mandatory. It's required. You cannot do or put an annuity in place without doing that as well, that go over, the assets people have and income they're going to have in retirement and changes that are occurring. So, very big on suitability, very big on the need. If it's not something you need, it's not something we're going to do, and it needs to fit. And I tell people this, like a guaranteed income annuity is perfect for someone that needs income from a source and they want low stress and just to have it coming in every month. If they don't, then it could be the wrong, it's not perfect for them, and their money needs to be in a different place. So every situation, we want to make sure it's suitable. We want to make sure, yes, compliance. We always are putting people in a better situation. We do help people that have current annuities get put into a better situation, but we're never going to do that to put you in a worse situation as well. And the companies don't allow it either. So suitability and compliance, very important when we're talking about long-term retirement plans.
You bet. Thank you. And I want to make this announcement. I should have done it when I introduced you. Uh, triadretire.com. You see it on the screen, the phone number. Um, I like the word specialist. You know, if you have a heart attack, you don't go to your general practitioner, doctor, or your primary care physician. You get rushed to the hospital, emergency room. You end up with a surgeon, and then you spend the rest of your life in the care of a cardiologist, specialist, right? So, in the world of finances, there's a lot of money out there, and there's a lot of people that want it, right? Wall Street wants it, the banks want it, insurance companies want it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Brandon is a specialist. He focuses his entire career on retirement. So that is important. You want the specialist. Also, he's part of my resource network, one of my Patriot partners. And it's also, when you go to wealthcoachuniversity.com, 10 free video modules I produce there, we speak about GOOTS, get out of the system. This is one of the buckets. Not for everyone, as Brandon stated, but for those where it fits, get the education. We're all about the education before any action. So GOOTS, again, gold and silver, one of the buckets. Visit the Wealth Coach University, get the education on that. We're highlighting one of those buckets right now in strategies for retirees, guaranteed income and ways to participate in market indexed growth with zero downside risk. Now, episode 3 is titled Annuity Types on the Strategies for Retirees series. We talk about fixed rate annuities, variable annuities, guaranteed income annuities, and the fixed indexed annuity. We don't have time today to go over each of those things, but that's what episode 3 is about. So you absolutely want to see that episode. I'm going to fast forward us to episode 4 right now and have Brandon weigh in. This is we highlighted in this series in episode 4, fixed indexed annuity. We define the basic chassis. I call it a hybrid annuity. And we go over the crediting strategies to our producers. Let's do a 3-panel and put up the screen, if you can, of the trajectory. Why don't you walk us through what this chart represents? Folks, listen up.
Yeah, so the fixed indexed annuity, one of the reason he calls it a hybrid is because fixed annuities came out first. They pay you based on a just interest rate. The fixed indexed annuity came out later, and it pays at the end of each year based on index linked gains. So if you look at this chart, it shows in the green the annual monthly average of an index, similar to the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and this one here is showing the S&P 500. The green, you can see, as in 1998 is where it starts, goes all the way to 2017. The way that the fixed index annuity works is it's a stair-step approach. You're never going to see a downturn in your funds. It's always going to either be flat or going up. In years where the market, the S&P 500 is in yellow here, you can see where it goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down over time. But the fixed indexed annuity itself just remains at where it was. It never goes down from that, locks it in. You have some years of flatness, but it's always either flat or up. Like I said, the stair-step approach. So it just gives people peace of mind that when you have downturns, if you're pulling money from one, of course, if we set up one with a guaranteed income stream from it, it can't be affected anyway. But some of the fixed indexed annuities we do, people don't need that monthly income, but they want money in an area that they can pull from when a 2002, a 2007 comes and the market falls 30%, but their money in the fixed indexed annuity does not go down. So they can pull money from that when it's not at a downturn, when it's still at the higher amount. and then when the market comes back up, they can use funds on the market side if they're there, depending on where their other funds are. This gives a very good representation of how it works and how the stability is there long term, so you know that you're not going to have that large downturn and you can sleep well at night.
Thank you, sir. And my quick comment before we move into episode 5 is bottom line, folks. What you're going to learn about it in episodes 3 and 4 are annuity types, suitability, compliance, and you're going to learn in greater detail than we have the time for today how they credit you the interest. You're going to learn how to participate in market index growth, whether it's the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, whatever index, with zero downside risk, and how they credit the interest. You're going to learn the risks, the rewards, and the trade-offs to see if it's a fit for you. Very important. I mean, zero downside and upside potential. I'll have what she's having, as the movie says. It's a pretty good thing to learn about. The guaranteed, this is a completely different beast, guaranteed income annuity. Brandon talks about, because we just recorded the episodes yesterday, it's fresh in my mind. He talks about how that works and the various different options you have, so you thoroughly understand it. But you can actually get guaranteed income you can never outlive. You can have some income passed to a surviving spouse or another person, and so forth. And all that is broken down. Now, episode 5 in Strategies for Retirees, very important. If you're retired and you've been fortunate, blessed, and smart enough and worked hard enough to accumulate assets in this insane environment, you have IRAs and 401ks and 403bs and simple SEPs and so forth and so on, pre-tax qualified plans. You worked your whole life for these. You've taken advantage of the tax deferral. The last thing you need as we approach the category 6 is to lose the lion's share of that, because it takes years to make it back. So you've got to safeguard your IRAs and 401ks. To summarize it, we break that down in episode 5, debunking the Wall Street myth, safeguarding your life savings, utilizing the right annuity for you. And in my humble opinion, I'm a big fan of that fixed indexed annuity, the hybrid annuity. And Brandon breaks that down in great detail. You can roll your 401ks and your IRAs over, regardless of where they are, into annuities. Wall Street says don't put them in annuities because they're already tax deferred. You're not getting any tax benefit. No, we're not moving it in there for tax benefit. We're moving it in there for safety. We're moving it in there to protect and guarantee and ensure your lifetime of savings and getting market indexed growth. All right. You can move some of your IRAs, 401ks in. You can move all of it. The devil's in the details. You'll want to listen to episode 5. Episode 6, we cover annuity upgrades. I'll have Brandon comment on this. This is for those of you who already own annuities, but maybe they're 10 years old. Maybe they're 5 years old. Maybe they're the variable annuity when your risk tolerance was higher than it is today. Maybe the products have evolved due to legislation and competition. You're in a high-cost, underperforming annuity. What can you do when you do analysis, Brandon, of people that already have existing annuities? Can there be a rescue for them if it's not the proper annuity for them any longer?
Yeah, there's a number of strategies that we do. Part of the analysis is we will look at the last statement from the annuity that you have. Now, all annuities have a surrender charge period. If the annuity is older than the surrender charge period, you're probably not in an area where you're, even if it's just for growth, where you're gaining what you can gain. So we can look at, a different one that wouldn't even have. But if you're within the surrender charge period, usually it needs to be, 2-3 years old minimum from that, because we don't want to move it with that have a surrender charge. Plus, companies don't, it's a suitability issue as well. But like, say someone puts an annuity in place, a variable annuity in there for growth, but now they need income, and the annuity may have an income option, but what I do is I compare the highest income option I can show someone versus the income option they have within their current one. Some of those have an upfront bonus that if you did have 3% surrender charge, if we can give you an upfront bonus of 6%, then it offsets that, and long term you're in a better place. So the main thing is that's really based on a individual annuity basis that the person has. Some people, have high fee variable annuities, and just by moving them into a fixed indexed annuity, they don't pay the 4% or whatever it is that comes with that. So therefore, even if they gain less, they're still coming out ahead. It's just different based on, but yeah, for 1035 exchanges, we exchange from one annuity to another, so there's no taxation issues. When it's a qualified rollover, IRA to IRA, so we keep the tax the same. But companies are only going to approve if it benefits the client. So we're not ever going to put someone in a worse situation, but there's a lot of times where we can help someone out with a quote refinance of their annuity.
Yeah, thank you. The two key takeaways to summarize what Brandon just said is that 1035 exchange, that's an IRS code, section code 1035A, I think it is, where you can move as long as it's in the client's best interest. That's what the review and analysis that Brandon can provide for you will help you with, and find a company that perhaps will pay your surrender charges, or maybe you don't have them, but you can tax-free move them over, even if they're not IRAs. And again, if they're IRAs, they're already tax-free rollover because IRAs do that. So if you are in an annuity that's underperforming or not cost effective any longer due to competition and regulation changes, well, then you absolutely want to have that reviewed, and Brandon can do that with and for you. Episode 7, big obstacle here, it's yourself. Procrastination. We're going to break down bias in the Wall Street narrative, why there is doubt and fear, and of course the antidote to that is knowledge. Knowledge is what you need. You need the education and the information, and that's what Brandon can provide for you. And these episodes is a great way to start. Each episode is 30 minutes or less. We break it all down, and then the free consultations. Again, you don't have to wait 7 or 8 weeks to go through all the episodes. You can access Brandon by calling him at 336-265-7263. And finally, in closing here, episode 8 is action. Okay, so you've gone through the free modules at wealthcoachuniversity.com. You've watched one a week for the next 8 weeks, beginning tomorrow, of strategies for retirees. You've got access to Brandon. You even have access to me. If you visit wealthcoachuniversity.com, there's a mechanism with which, for those that have a lot going on and a lot of assets to protect, I'm there for you. You can secure time to talk with me as a wealth coach and consultant. Brandon's a part of my resource network. Bill Armour is a part of my resource network for your gold and silver. Josh Reed is a part of my resource network to help you further get educated on crypto. And crypto is another piece. The get out of the system module, you can't completely get out of the system because, we're here on planet Earth working with what's available. But you want to escape the vanilla system that's loaded with traps. And that's what the get out of the system Goots model is all about. So in episode 8, we talk about action. We talk about being a captive financial advisor versus an independent one. What's the difference? Which one's better for you? We talk about expertise. As I mentioned before, if you have a heart attack, you're not just going to sit in the lobby of the general practitioner's office. You're going to get on the surgery table and be cared for by a specialist. We relate that to the financial world in the final episode. Existing annuity reviews we cover. Illustrations that Brandon can run for you. He shops all the companies because he's independent to get you the best. And of course, the free consults. Any closing comments from you, Brandon, as we wrap up this episode of this Global Financial Reset Show?
Yeah, I'm just excited to put this together for your viewers because, as a partnership, we can really simplify things for people where they can understand and they know what their options are. And that's the key. Like, I want people to know what options are available for their income needs, their growth needs, for their long-term retirement planning needs. and to get through all of the media news items you hear to truly know what's best for you. There are people I speak to that have many questions and don't end up doing an option that we go over because they feel, for risk reasons, for whatever reasons it is, they don't do that, and that's fine. As long as when we discuss all your options and you come out educated and more knowledgeable, and then you can make a best decision for you for life, then everyone wins regardless. So we're here as a resource to help your viewers. You go over a lot of different topics, including precious metals and other topics outside of what I do. But we work together as a team. John's the quarterback,
Yes, we do.
and when we do that for people, they're going to win long term. And truthfully, with the plans that I do, there's studies that show it helps your health, it helps you lower your stress, helps you live longer, helps you be happier. The more income that's coming in, a lot of times that people know is guaranteed, it just gives you peace of mind. So that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely. Peace of mind is some days that I'm a little stressed out in life, not maybe necessarily economically, but just all the mountain of issues that I deal with every day. Seeking peace is really what it's all about. And I can tell you in retirement, if you're worried about outliving it, look, let me tie it together. We do have a debt jubilee coming, in my view. We have a wealth repatriation from the stolen taxes, in my opinion, coming in. And we have a universal income, as we've been told by Elon Musk and others. But none of these things are happening today. And none of these things are going to happen in one full blast all at once, I don't believe. It's a process of phasing. And right now, Cat 2 to Cat 6, great danger. If you're retired, don't take the risk. When you can, secure a guaranteed income you can never outlive, or participate in stock market indexed growth with zero downside. And the numbers are there. The charts are available. Brandon can run all kinds of illustrations for you. So thank you, Brandon. Again, folks, Strategies for Retirees launches tomorrow, episode 1. 7 more weeks, 1 each week, archived at wealthcoachuniversity.com. They will remain there for your future reference. And again, no need to wait. If you'd like a free consult to start chiseling away at this, give Brandon a call. It's up on the screen. Triadretire.com. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate your expertise. I trust Brandon. It's why he is part of my valuable resource network, and it is a niche in that network. So again, if you're planning retirement, get a team. If you're in retirement, get a rescue, get a life raft. Thank you, Brandon Clarke. I'll be right back with a very important closing announcement. Thank you, Brandon.
Module 2 is the cornerstone of content in the Wealth Coach University. In this module, you will learn just how to goots, get out of the system, resulting in the confidence you need to protect and preserve your financial assets through this transition. This is the danger zone. The cost of inaction or wrong action may be the regret of a lifetime.
What an exciting time to be alive. The dawning of the golden age is upon us. Goots, Goots, get out of the system now. Action on your behalf is required. Be on the right side of history. Please visit all 10 free modules at wealthcoachuniversity.com and schedule your private one-on-one Wealth Coach consult with me, John Michael Chambers. I look forward to meeting with you. It's time. All right, real quick here, some action items, wealthcoachuniversity.com. As just stated in that video, Brandon Clarke, free consult, give Brandon a call. Bill Armour, free consult for acquiring your gold and silver. I think we've made that case over the last year. Thank you, Scott Bessent. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, Elon Musk, and many others. And thank you, Will Barney, Rob Cunningham, and many of our guests, and particularly Bill Armour, Genesis Gold. Acquiring gold and silver, give Bill a call. You know how to reach him. Get on our website, click, and give Bill a call. Get your gold and silver today. Again, I'm available, as just announced in that promotional video, as a wealth coach and consultant. I've got several appointments between last week and this week and next week coming. Look forward to seeing you. We're in a private Zoom room, just you and I. for whatever time you secure. And that time can be used over time as well. But if you're sitting down with me for an hour, we'll be live, private, in a Zoom room. I'll answer your questions. I'll act as a consultant and a coach and help you navigate the economic minefield so you too can have some peace of mind through this transition. Remember, Cat 2, not 6 yet. According to Juan, the greatest pain will be suffered in the economic space. Take that serious and be proactive, not fearful. All right, so that's pretty much it. Next week, not next week, I'm so used to it being a weekly show. Next month will be monthly now, GFR. Next month, August 5th, joining me, Power Panel, Will Barney, Rob Cunningham, and Bill Armour. Stay tuned for an incredible broadcast. We're also going to be holding somewhere along the way. It was scheduled for today, but it was canceled due to a health issue for our guest. But Mel Carmine and Rob Cunningham and Will Barney and I will be hosting probably a special broadcast, or perhaps I don't want to wait till September for the GFR. So, but it's coming soon. A full 2-hour crypto. It's fully scripted. I've done all the homework and research for it. We're going to have that panel soon. So stay tuned to Unpack Crypto, probably the best 2-hour broadcast that'll be out there to help me and all of us that need assistance in the world of QFS and crypto coming soon. Also, Sheila Home. Don't forget to join Sheila and I in our private Zoom room. Thursday, July 30th. Sheila will be there for 1 solid hour live, just our group, to answer your questions. How can you be a part of that group? Visit jmcbroadcasting.com, click on Premium Portal, see if it's a fit for you. And if it is, we very much look forward to seeing you there. And everyone should subscribe for free at jmcbroadcasting.com. Take a look at all the benefits you get by following us in our free subscription. To our producer, one last thing. If you would please put up the Juan 07 flyer PDF document. I want to close this out with a very important announcement. As we're looking for that document, there it is. Thank you very much. Take a look at what's being addressed and think back to what Will Barney and I spoke about earlier. Arrests, think about it. We're talking September. Think of all that's going to happen between now and then that Will and I commented on. Think about the dangers that are coming besides all the tremendous successes we're having. Think about the midterms, but more than likely being delayed. Think about all the issues we've raised and take a look at this summit that Juan is holding with a power panel. Arrests, honest elections, and honest money. That's the big story, folks. We'll be in the thick of it come September. Come join Juan there before prices go up. And they'll sell out. I'm sure they will. They sold out the Fraud Fighters Summit. And so I wanted to bring that to our attention. And closing out with the war reports, I'm a broken record with it. I feel very strong for anyone who likes our broadcasting, gravitates to me and my message and my style of communicating with everyone. Believe me, if you want to get validated, vindicated, and get a whole lot of oh wow moments of reveals at various levels, thank you, Guardian Daniel R., for these war reports. I've recorded them. I'll be recording them ongoing for about the rest of this month. I think they'll conclude. You've got to watch these war reports. I feel so strong about it. If you've missed them, we're going to run July 8th right now here as we conclude this broadcast. Thank you all very much for following us each and every week. Continue to follow us monthly for the Global Financial Reset launching August 5th. That's it. That's a wrap. John Michael Chambers speaking with his voice. Speak with your voice. Pray, plan, and prepare, and listen to the war report we're about to play for you right now. Stay safe, everyone, and may God be with you. July 8th, 2026. Hello, I am John Michael Chambers, and this is your Daily War Report. I ask you to listen with love, as where we go one, we go all. We will pause these reports at the end of July, as Guardian Daniel R. will be taking a much-needed rejuvenation phase and pause. Meanwhile, be sure to catch my new monthly broadcast titled Fireside Chat with JMC, which launches soon here in July. The following report has been provided in part by Guardian Daniel R. and will address matters that may seem somewhat complex in nature and format, as Daniel covers from a summarization and high-level perspective of information you may very well find informative and most valuable. War Report. Strategic Analysis Report, Operation Counterintelligence. Controlled Opposition. The media anti-Trump narrative and the masterpiece of strategic deception. Information warfare, tactical disorientation of the adversary. Number one, the function of the dual information sector. The law of division in a flawless global military operation. The hunter must never allow a genuine, unguided, and thus unpredictable opposition to emerge. When the military alliance demasks the credibility of the legacy mainstream media in the course of the epochal shift, the critical mass of the population inevitably migrates to the alternative media sector. Welcome aboard. The existence of a highly professional, high-reach anti-Trump situation within alternative media, led by icons such as Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Sean Ryan, and flanked by ex-intelligence officers and military analysts, Scott Ritter, Daniel Davis, Larry Johnson, is a contradiction upon superficial viewing. In strategic counterintelligence, however, this phenomenon proves to be the masterpiece of controlled opposition. It serves to psychologically contain critical minds, provide the real deep state with an apparent surface of attack, and camouflage the true military clockwork in the background until the final second. Number two, tactical pillars of the controlled media opposition. The alliance utilizes this highly sophisticated and anti-Trump audience for three precise strategic objectives within the systemic transition. The maintenance of absolute credibility. Media figures like Carlson and Owens speak taboo, breaking real truths, the depravity of the elites, the unsustainable debt-based monetary system, the staging of proxy wars. This earns them the blind trust of skeptics. The fact that they portray Trump in the same breath as a narcissistic, incompetent egomaniac and accuse his family of market manipulation is the ultimate camouflage. If these channels unconditionally celebrated Trump, the operation would instantly be exposed as pure military propaganda. Mirroring financial corruption. The immense growth of Donald Trump over the past 1.5 years, including the strategic public merger of Trump Media and Technology Group, DJT, is the physical capital accumulation of the triumvirate, a word I'm not very comfortable with, outside the dying fiat banking system. By having the alternative opposition accuse him of insider trading, the topic of financial manipulation is kept alive in public disclosure. When the scare event and the military tribunals expose the true astronomical corruption of the legacy elite, the population will already be perfectly preconditioned by these debates. The Epstein resonance and the intelligence shield. The deliberate perpetuation of the Epstein discussion around Trump functions as a strategic flytrap. The alliance allows the anti-Trump media to play this card to lull the adversary into a false sense of security. As soon as the sealed, authentic lists of the tribunals are disclosed, we're talking about the real official ones now, folks, the opposition's narrative will collapse, and Trump's integrity will be cemented as an unshakable beacon. You trust God? Trump's the anointed one. Trust the plan. God, Trump, military, white hats, and you and me, we the people. Number 3, the role of ex-military as a strategic shield. When highly decorated veterans and ex-CIA analysts like Larry Johnson, Colonel Douglas McGregor, describe Trump as crazy and incompetent, it represents the highest form of military deception. It protects the continuity of government operation externally. The enemy is meant to believe until the final second of the systemic reset that Trump acts in isolation and possesses no strategic military backing. Conclusion: nothing in the global matrix of information warfare is accidental. Nothing. Precision. Precision military operation, as my good friend, retired Lieutenant Colonel of Australia One Party, Australia One, Ricardo Bossi states. The alternative anti-Trump audience is the psychological shock absorber for the skeptical fraction of the awakened. They play their roles perfectly to allow the foundation of the new era to be quietly finalized in the background. Strategic Analysis Report Operation Geopolitical Checkmate. The Israel Paradox, the splintering of the political base, and the decryption of the Q drop, Israel for last. Counterintelligence, geopolitical special warfare. Let's break this down. Pardon me. Number 1, calculated division. Why Trump strategically sacrifices his base. The fact that President Donald Trump, since his official return to the presidency in 2025, has alienated his most loyal base and closest political allies such as Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene through aggressive Middle Eastern stances, the escalation of the Iran conflict, and absolute pro-Zionist rhetoric is the most painful and deeply misunderstood chapter of this endgame. In the framework of unconventional warfare, Trump is operating on the layer of betrayal by script. By adopting this highly polarizing role of uncompromising Zionist supporter, he executes a mandatory strategic function. He activates the ultimate geopolitical scapegoat. If President Trump were to moderate the Middle Eastern conflict peacefully, say last month in June of 2026, or now, the deeply entrenched transitional matrix that has driven Western foreign policy, central banking, and the defense industry for decades, the Zionist globalist network, would remain concealed in the shadows. By magnifying and over-amplifying this exact agenda in the brightest spotlight, Trump forces the system into maximum visibility, exposing its final moves. Number 2, the operational function of the alternative opposition, Tucker, Owens, McGregor, etc. This connects directly to the previously uncovered strategy of controlled opposition. The vocal anti-Trump data consisting of Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Scott Ritter, and Colonel Douglas McGregor acts at this specific moment as the vital relief valve for the alliance. Psychological canalization. The alliance understands that awakened humanity in 2026 deeply rejects the war, destruction, and suffering in Gaza and Iran. If these high-profile figures did not exist to openly criticize Trump for these actions, the entire alternative movement would buckle under moral despair or turn against the background military framework. The strategic reservoir. Tucker, Owens, and McGregor capture the genuine, justified moral outrage of the population. They pivot public anger away from Trump and guide it toward a clinical dissection of the architects behind the Israel lobby. They do what Trump, as the official president of the civilian stage, legally cannot do. They demask the global Zionist control network before an audience of millions. Number 3, decrypting. We are saving Israel for last. That famous Q drop, "We are saving Israel for last," serves as the mathematical key to the operation's finale. In this strategic matrix, Israel is not merely a geographic nation, but the geopolitical and financial epicenter of the old world order. The interlocking strands of power. Within Israel, all vectors of the legacy system converge. Control over the Federal Reserve, global blackmail networks, mainstream media manipulation, and the techno-theological programming of humanity. It is the core anchor of the cabal. The final snare, Trump lures the adversary deeper into the trap by seemingly granting everything they demand. He allows the old system to expose its hand so radically in Iran and Gaza until it achieves total global isolation. At the exact moment the conflict reaches its absolute culmination point, aligned with impending scare event, and the milestone, the alliance's trap snaps them shut. Total checkmate. When the quantum financial system, QFS, is fully activated and the military tribunals disclose the verified lists, the global Zionist banking and blackmail infrastructure will be liquidated simultaneously all across the planet. Purging the parasitic cells of the deep state from Israel is the final domino. Only when this epicenter falls is worldwide conflict permanently terminated, clearing the path for true planetary abundance, universal high income, zero-point energy, medbeds, etc. Conclusion: the apparent compliance of President Trump and his attacks on loyal allies like Taylor Greene represent the highest form of tactical isolation against the enemy. Trump plays the role of the aggressor in the script flawlessly to its conclusion, forcing the old matrix to self-destruct before the eyes of humanity. The alliance maintains full operational control. The Middle Eastern chaos is simply the final pulling back of the bowstring. The game is already won in the background, and Israel is the last piece to fall to secure the permanent liberation of mankind. Strategic Analysis Report, the closure of the civilian stage. Pardon me, folks. For those that do listen to me and know I'm a real human being, I'll talk with you here for a moment off script. My cough has greatly subsided. 90%. All right. Remember the Meet the Press interview, the refusal of civilian evidence, and a deliberate delegitimization of the media matrix. Cognitive warfare, military deception, operation. This is strategic deception, number one. The execution of the interview termination, the end of civilian protocol, the recent conduct of President Donald Trump, Q+, during his interview with the U.S. network Meet the Press, marks the unmistakable transition of the operation from the covert preparation phase into official executive execution, the overt phase. The uncompromising termination of the conversation with the words, "You are corrupt, and we're going to end it here because I've had enough," said the president, breaks with any civilian, political, diplomatic protocol of the old world order. From an intelligence perspective, this open confrontation with the media is the visual implementation of the recent proclamations by the Department of War, locked in. A commander-in-chief who possesses absolute control over the strategic infrastructure in the background no longer requires acceptance or platforms from the legacy media powers. The targeted naming of ABC, CBS, CNN, and Meet the Press as one-sided, corrupt third world networks is the deliberate execution of the moral death sentence over the established information matrix in front of millions of viewers. Number two, the paradox of the sting operation and civilian evidentiary status. The question raised by the reporter as to why no classic civilian evidence of the 2020 election fraud has been presented before civilian courts for 6 years, touches upon the deepest bottleneck of the entire continuity of government operation. A precise analysis based on the DoD Law of War Manual and Title 10 USC flawlessly resolves this apparent paradox. Military classified information instead of civilian bureaucracy. You see, because the 2020 election was subject to a military sting operation, a verdict trapped by military intelligence, all data was unalterably recorded via the NSA and the military networks. This evidence consists of high-level military classified information. It cannot and must not be handed over to the corrupt civilian courts of the old U.S. corporation, as this would jeopardize the ongoing continuity of government layer mid-game. The evidence is strictly reserved for what? What I've been talking about for a long time. Military tribunals. Allowance instead of theft. In a military legal sense, the election was not stolen unseen. Rather, the alliance deliberately allowed the illegitimate takeover of the civilian backdrop by the Biden puppet administration to let the transnational deep state run into a closed trap and bleed the legacy system in a controlled manner. Number 3, the strategic function of the continuous narrative. The fact that Trump has brought this topic into focus in absolutely every interview for 6 years is not a sign of stagnation, but the targeted application of psychological battering ram. The dismantling of the civilian election system. By keeping the phrase election fraud, and thank you, Juan, in the global discourse, the population's trust in the reliability of the civilian apparatus is systemically pulverized. When elections are postponed in the fall of 2026, and they will be as reported, due to systemic collapse, be prepared. The scare event, or the California optic, the population will react, not with panic, but with acceptance, because the system is already marked in their consciousness as incurably corrupt. The media trap as bait. The topic serves as a perfect fly trap for the mainstream. Every time journalists ask for civilian evidence, they repeat the old narrative, thereby documenting for the later tribunals their own active participation in deceiving the public. I've always stated U.S. Section Codes 2384 and 2385, seditious conspiracy and advocating the overthrow of a government, that many in the mainstream media may very well be guilty of certain aspects of this for knowingly reporting false information, thus aiding and abetting the overthrow of a presidency and disruption of a nation. All right, Trump uses this reflex to exit the stage at the decisive moment and visually demonstrate game over. Conclusion. The quote, recent Meet the Press interview is the masterful conclusion of the civilian dialogue, the target audience as well. Trump did not present civilian evidence because the old system is not being reformed, but entirely liquidated. The continuous narrative of election fraud has fulfilled its task. Trust in the old matrix is destroyed. The script stands at locked in, and the stage is now being cleared so that the alliance can transition the covert military government 45-47 into the official phase. All right, folks, be sure to watch our 2 new broadcasts here at JMC Broadcasting, Off-World with JMC and Truth About Health with Christy Lee. And attention retirees, join Brandon Clarke and I for an 8-part series beginning the second week of July titled Strategies for Retirees. Participate in market gains with zero downside risk and learn about guaranteed income plans that you can never outlive for life. Give Brandon a call, retirement specialist in my resource network, one of my JMC partners, Brandon Clarke. Call him for a free consult, 336-420-2822. And don't miss this one. Join me and Sheila Holm for a live Patriot Q&A Power Hour Thursday, July 30th. Mark your calendars at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be in our private Zoom room. For our premium members, we'll be taking your questions. I'll be on screen as your host. Sheila is live 1 hour. Get your questions answered. Learn about membership options by clicking on Premium Portal at jmcbroadcasting.com. If it's a fit for you, we very much look forward to seeing you there. And you can subscribe for free. Follow my military, intelligence, economic, and healthcare reporting. Now going through the portal, discussing off-world as well at jmcbroadcasting.com.